Okay, so I'm eating a cupcake because job searching is hard, and apparently it's full of scams. My name is Dre. I'm with the Reboot Era, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how to be aware of scams when you're applying for jobs. I'll put the cupcake down for now, but just know that I have at least one bite left. So before we hop into talking about the scams to be aware of, I want to share a little something. I did a poll on LinkedIn a little bit ago, maybe a week and a half ago. Today's day, what is it, day 15 now? And the rejections absolutely just keep coming in. I've gotten some feedback now, like some people were saying, like, your resume was great. I had two recruiters reach out and just say it's not personal. There was just so many people who applied and you were not an early applicant. So applying quickly definitely can help you. Even with referrals, a few of my referral connections reached out and let me know that there were already hundreds of applicants in the pipeline and the interview process was already starting. So if you're going to get a referral, set up those connections now so that as soon as the job posts, you can be one of the first people who applies with the referral, and that should help your odds. The last 2 days, I've been feeling emotionally, I've just been on like a high. I've been feeling better. I think it's because I'm going on a vacation. I had paid for this vacation months ago. I try to plan all my vacations for the year, like 6 months in advance, so that I can pay for them, get them done, budget for them, and just have my year set. So this one was not expensive. I'm going to Yellowstone National Park with my mom and my two dogs. I'm really excited. Hopefully, I get to see a bison. That is my goal. If I see a bison, I'm feeling confident that whoever follows me today, when you see this video on May 22nd, will land a job. I'm going to say in the next 45 days. So you heard it here first. But I'm going to continue filming content. I'm going to still make items for you guys. I have some stuff that I'm going to be going through. I don't have a workshop or I don't have a content to share, like anything that I've created in the G Sheet today. Today is going to be more of like a listening video for those who are interested. Let's talk about job scams and some red flags to see. So if you're like me and you've been all over LinkedIn, posting, reading, interacting, engaging, but mainly looking at jobs, figuring out what you're applicable for, and then applying, you've probably received numerous messages from people who claim to be a recruiter or they are using a real person's picture. But like when you look at their LinkedIn, there's some really suspicious stuff. And I did call it out in a previous video that when you go and you look at their followers, if there's a blue, it should say follower account, and then there's a blue box next to it with an arrow pointing out. That's a link going outward. That's a scam. So don't click those. I don't know what it does, but I know it's a scam. Some of the other ones I want to talk about, I think there's 7 or 8 that I have to mention. The first one is anything that's like too good to be true for a minimal amount of work. Example might be we're offering $120,000 a year and you only have to work 10 hours a week from home. And it's okay. Love that because who wouldn't want that job? But realistically, I don't think I know a single person in the world, and especially with all the layoffs from companies that don't need to lay you off because they absolutely have billions of dollars worth of evaluation as well as multiple billions in ARR, annual recurring revenue. Like they have the finances to pay you and they're laying you off. So I highly doubt there's a company out there that's don't do any work, do 10 hours of work a week, basically work one day, and we're going to pay you $120,000 a year. Oh, and you can work from home. Next thing you know, they're going to be like, we don't take taxes out. We're going to stiff the government. Scammers tend to prey on financial insecurity and burnout. So the fact that like you're tired and you're like, that sounds really great, I want to do that, is it's heightened. And then they're going to go after that. And you have this, I should say, not heightened, you have a lowered guard up or guard down. And then they're trying to prey on that type of thing. So vague responsibilities, any instant hire offers or luxury lifestyle messaging, just be aware that's probably a scam. Interview only via chat. So I have never in my life had an interview where they're like, hey, for your first interview, we're going to conduct it over text messages. or Facebook or Telegram or WhatsApp or Signal. First of all of those apps, with maybe the exception of WhatsApp, Telegram and Signal are 100% sketchy apps. Fight me if you want in the comments. I know that people use them. I actually don't really have a good validation for why people use them, but if you're on those apps, it tends to be like messages delete. It's a messaging app, but it's hidden. It's like Snapchat. I'm not going to say what you're doing, but we all know what you're doing. WhatsApp, I definitely understand. You're typically communicating with people who are in other countries. And so it's a free way with Wi Fi to be able to communicate in text without getting a lot of charges. But you'll probably see these. You'll get a new message and it will just be like, hey, it's Julie. And we saw your application. And you're like, what? That doesn't even make sense. I don't even remember what the job is. So they typically will say they'll push for interviews over messaging apps in order to avoid any traceability to like where they're located and where they're scamming you from. If they avoid any video or phone interviews, which if you do get a message on WhatsApp or Signal or Telegram, and that's maybe what you've seen in the past, I think it's more popular in other countries other than the US. Try to get them on a phone call or a video because then at least you can get some validation that they're real. And if the whole entire process happens in text, absolutely not. Get out. Red flag. It's extra sketchy if the job sounds real, but they won't verify who they are. So if it's just like a first name, get out. Some of the other things is if they're asking for personal information too early. I think that this one's obvious, but if any companies they need your bank account info or your social or your any ID cards or addresses, like some of these things, only one of these things, an address or a photo, those are sometimes on your resume. So they should already have those too. But I like if they're asking to set up like direct deposits or verifying identity before any formal offer has been provided to you and you've signed it and sent it back so that you're officially employed, no, run away. Don't fall for the scam. Get out of here. Tell them to mail you a check at that point. Be like, here's my address. Go ahead and mail me the check. That's what they should do. Fake company or spoofing or spoofed hiring teams. So some scams will actually use like real company names, and you'll see this a lot on LinkedIn. They'll actually, like I said before, they'll use a real picture of a real person and they'll update their LinkedIn history to show like they've worked at Airbnb and ZipRecruiter. And another one I've seen is Robert Half, I think is what it's called. And what they do is they're like, I'm a recruiter for this business. But if you look at their activity, they've recently have commented on so many, like tens of people in their LinkedIn posts being like, please message me your resume and I can assist with hiring. And they write a long post. And it's like, why are you even taking the time to write such a long post? Number one, or it's too short and they're just like, message me your resume. And you're like, okay, that's weird. I've even had people who look legitimate, like probably are, it's a real account, and the account got hacked. And they've messaged me being with like, this was weird. I got four of the exact same messages. I even think I went on a spiel about this, but I'm just going to re-say it for anybody who's new here. I got four of the exact same messages on the same day. They were real people, I thought. And in the beginning, they had great conversations. Like it was like two or three messages that like seemed legit. And so I was like entertaining it. I was like, thanks for following my content. Thanks for reaching out and being a supporter. And then they were like, I want to help you with your job search. What can you tell me how much money you're looking to make? And I was like, that's weird, but I'll give you a range. Like I'm willing to negotiate, but I would say maybe the floor, I'm not willing to accept anything less than this number. And then they said, that's great. And then they asked me for my resume and they were like, I can touch base with my network or something. And at first it sounded legit. And then I looked at what they did and I was like, you're not anything relevant to like what I'm looking to do. Like one of them was like a paralegal. And I was like, why would a paralegal know people who relate to you? Just have a ton of non-paralegal or lawyer friends. You just have a ton of like program manager friends. I don't know. I find that weird and hard to believe. So I was like, that's weird. And so I wrote back a message that was like quick and I said, actually, I'm navigating this process pretty well right now by myself, but if I need the help, I'll reach back out. And they responded with okay, great, but it's spelled like okay. And then great was like GRATE, which is incorrect. And then the second profile did the same thing, almost the exact same language. And then at the end, the same thing. They did okay, great, spelled incorrectly. And I was like, that was weird. So just know that. A few other things that you can check with that is like any email addresses they're using. Like, is it Gmail? Is it at gmail.com or is it at the company's career.us? Those can be red flags, right? Typically, it's going to be like the company they work at.com. And then the LinkedIn, go and look to see if the person who's reaching out to you via email is actually working on LinkedIn at the company that they say that they're working at. And you find the job posting. So if they are saying, hey, we have this program manager role at this company, go to the company, the actual company website and go and see if you can find the job posting. And if you can't, I wouldn't say it's a immediate red flag, but it definitely raises concern. And you should be asking like where the job posting is on their website. Anything that's messaging you, typically emails or LinkedIn messages that are going to come in and say, like, you've been selected and with no application. First of all, how do they know? Yeah, we're all open to work at this point. So is everyone just receiving a you've been selected message? What did you do in order to get there? So if you've never heard from somebody before in your life and you magically have been selected, that's odd. If you've never applied and then all of a sudden you receive an offer letter and an interview invite, I would say where, because that's sketchy. And then if they say that you were found via LinkedIn and moved fast to onboard you, that's super weird. Like they found you in LinkedIn. They were just like, let's onboard this person, even though they know nothing about the job. And we've never spoken with them. Raises concerns. It should raise concerns with you at least. If they ask you to pay for something, immediate no. Literally no employer will ever. And if they do, like spam them in the comments and let's go attack them because that's insane. No employer will ever ask you to buy like software licenses, laptops, any training programs. I will say maybe if it was a pyramid scheme and you were like, hey, let's go sell soap to people, you have to buy the soap that you're going to go and resell. That's a pyramid scheme. That's essentially what we're talking about here, anyways. But application fees, absolutely not. You're not renting an apartment. Even then, that's a whole different topic. That's a whole hoax, too. But reimbursement will come later. And this is part of our onboarding process. And I'm going to re-say that because my hand was in front of the mic. So anything that says like reimbursement will come later or this is part of our onboarding process, absolutely not. You're paying me to do a job. If I'm filling out an application, that's my time. I expect money, not reverse, not me paying you for the application. So just be aware of that. And then lastly, any unclear company presence online. So if you look up the company that is supposedly reaching out to you and they don't have a website, or when you look them up on LinkedIn, you can find the site, but they have no employees that are working there. Unless this is like a startup, it's day one and you're the CEO, they wouldn't have any employees. But otherwise, they should have at least one. And then go to Glassdoor. That's another great resource. You can go and see are there reviews and people who have been scammed by companies that are like claiming to be real or maybe are real but are scamming people. You'll see reviews on there of like people talking about this recently. Like, hey, there's these scams, beware of them, blah, blah, blah. If the company only is existing to post a job, or if the company only exists in job posts that you're seeing, but they don't exist online outside of whatever job board you're using, get out. Don't even apply. Like move forward. So you can use platforms like some of the ones we talked about. So there's LinkedIn, there's an app, there's a website called Teal. You could try AngelList if it's a startup. You could also do Glassdoor. I think they have, I'm trying to think of that ones. Levels.fyi. That's helpful for any levels. You could use Blind. Those are just some sites that will help you determine like if the employer is actually legitimate. If they're only doing something for this week only, or it seems like a weird deal they're running, no, absolutely not. Never pay, never send an ID. Don't share banking info until you're fully hired through the official channels. And then trust your gut. If something feels weird about it, if something feels off, it probably is. So just be wary of the fact that these things are out there and they exist, but don't stop applying. Keep applying, but just try to apply to the jobs that are legitimate. And if you ever feel weird, ask a friend, show it to a friend and say, hey, there's this thing. And if your friends immediately, dude, that seems a little too easy, or that's a red flag in their book, do some investigation and check it out. With that, I think I'm going to go finish this cupcake because I'm feeling it. I am headed out to Yellowstone tomorrow morning, bright and early. So I'm excited about that. And I hope everyone just continues pushing forward. If this was helpful, if it wasn't helpful, feel free to message me. But if it was helpful or you think someone could get some use from this, please forward it to them. Subscribe to the channel. I would love that. It would really just make it easier to keep making these videos and follow this journey because it's only day 15 and we're still unemployed. Thanks, everyone.